This episode of the Young Turks is brought to you by T-Mobile.
And Alabama has a Governor, Robert Bentley, who campaigned for what he calls, quote, the toughest immigration laws, and I'm proud of the legislature for working tirelessly to create the strongest immigration bill in the country. He's out Arizonaing Arizona. So you have an Alabama governor, a Southern governor, 50 years after the Civil Rights Movement, who is basically echoing all of George Wallace and Governor John Patterson in the way he legislates. He's just taking the new kind of social hate issue. He's taking the new racist issue, and he's bringing it right back to Alabama. And he's saying that the SB 1070 that was in Arizona is not strong enough because here in Alabama, we're going to make it tougher. Arizona's immigration measure, just so you know, requires law enforcement to ask about immigration status. That's what the Arizona bill does when they have, quote, reasonable suspicion that the person they have stopped for some other violation is also an undocumented immigrant. Similarly, the law allows police to detain suspected undocumented immigrants. Suspected undocumented immigrants can be detained. It makes it a crime to employ or transport them. So if you're driving someone who is suspected of being an illegal immigrant, you are committing a crime in the state of Alabama, which it was an implicit crime if you were driving a black man through the state of Alabama and you were a white man. It almost never happened, but the point is it's the same type of politic that is going on today in Alabama as went on in the 60s, in the 50s in Alabama. Now, moreover, we talk about the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department has made clear that student enrollment practices that may chill or discourage school enrollment based on immigration status is a violation of federal law. Well, then don't go to Alabama because Alabama doesn't want you to go to school if you are the child of illegal immigrants. Many Alabama school officials worry that the new law will do just that. Once you start asking that question, you get to the point where you're tacitly trying to deny access for school. How funny is it? So strange that in Alabama, the governor is trying to deny access to school. Can you believe it? The state of Alabama is not going to let someone who lives in Alabama go to school there. I don't know if that's ever happened before. There has been zero progress in the state of Alabama when it comes to civil rights, it seems. And I don't mean that in a flip way. Of course, the laws of Jim Crow are over because of the civil rights movement. If you visit the state of Alabama and you want to see the history of the civil rights movement, no state does a better job in memorializing their missteps in the 1950s and 1960s and making museums and national parks and places to revisit the civil rights movement than does Alabama. Well, of course, they had the greatest violations than any of the other states, Mississippi as well, but they didn't do a good job. I don't know that they have the money to do that, but they're revisiting the exact same type of thing by denying civil rights to people who are here either illegally and have children that are here legally. And I just think that there is, and all because they suspect it. It is a search and seizure. It is racial profiling. This is racial profiling going on in the state of Alabama. There should be no tolerance for this. This is the kind of story, this is the kind of thing that should have people outraged. And unlike the civil rights movement where you saw dogs released and people beaten over the head at bus stations and crossing bridges in a right to just to have the vote, you're not going to see this as exploited because you're not going to see the moments when someone pulls someone over and asks them for their ID and arrests them because they suspect that they're not from here. And it's up to people in the press and it's up to people who are outraged by this to unelect or to make it known in this country that that cannot be tolerated. There was a great deal of, hubbub after Arizona did it, but it kind of got lost. It kind of went away. We went on to the next issue, and I think it's important to note that the Latin vote in America is a growing vote, and if you're a Democrat, you can certainly seize upon that vote, and you can see that the right wing is trying to toy with that as well, not just in the legislation they're passing in states like Arizona and Alabama, but they're trying to, it seems, do everything they can not to get the Latin vote. And when you see that happening, Democrats can only expect to get it if they try and counter these types of policies. Now, there is a new right-wing billboard campaign saying the most dangerous place for a Latino is in the womb. And what they're saying, and I'll read you, there's a right-wing politicians elected in 2010 sparked an unbridled anti-choice campaign that has unleashed nearly 1,000 increasingly radical anti-abortion bills, 1,000 across the country, following a conceived and raped tour that aims to end sexual assault victims' right to an abortion. And so what they're doing now is they're moving into the Latino Partnership for Conservative Principles, and they're putting a billboard campaign up that's saying this week, it started in Los Angeles, that Latinos are being targeted by organizations that promote abortion like Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood doesn't target people. Planned Parenthood is not out there looking for people to bring in to have abortions. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is they're availing their family planning services to everyone. And by everyone, I know it's hard for the right wing to realize this. I know it's hard for Republicans and very conservative Republicans to realize this. But when you say everyone in America, that also means Latin Americans, people of Hispanic heritage, people who live here who are as American as you are, even if they don't look exactly like you do. And that's what Planned Parenthood is doing. They're inviting those people, because they're Americans, into their operation to give family counseling. And yes, often that leads to abortion. Often it is explaining that you have a choice to have a child or not to have a child. And if you're going to have that child, here are the avenues you go down, and we will help you with that. If you choose not to have that child, we will certainly help you with that as well. And so they're saying the most dangerous place for a Latino is in the womb, and they're trying, I think, of course, to pick on the fact that there is a religious component to much of Hispanic America, and that because of that religious component, they will be most likely to fall into place with these people on the right here, these family values right-wingers. And I think that is a false assumption. But the fact that it's out there, the fact that these laws in Arizona, Arizona too, and Alabama are happening, but the Alabama law, Think Progress said, is the Arizona law on steroids, is being enacted and approved by a legislature in a state in the United States in 2011 is embarrassing. Man, is it embarrassing to know that we can have these anti-immigration laws that are racist and I think they're classist as well.
The G Slate with Google is T-Mobile's first 4G Android tablet, and it allows you to take HD entertainment anywhere you go. Stay connected at blazing fast speeds when and where you want, and no Wi-Fi is needed.
Through G Slate.